Hi there, this is Nicole from Right at Home, and today I'm sharing 4 ideas using background stamps creatively. All of the background stamps I'm showing today are from the Right at Home shop and are 20% off from now until this coming Monday, December 10th. Make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video for more information about our sale, but for now, let's get started. The first technique I'm showing is rainbow stamping using the watercolor background stamp. Here I have the background stamp mounted inside my MISTI. This is the original sized MISTI. And then inside the platform I have a piece of white cardstock that is cut to an A2 size panel. You can see I've already stamped the top stripe in red, and I'm masking off the other 2 stripes to stamp my second stripe. I'm going for a rainbow look here, so I'm making sure to start with red, and then I'm skipping orange and moving on to yellow. Later I'll be flipping the panel and I'll stamp the orange in between those 2 colors. But for now you can just mask off each strip, ink it up with your ink color, and then stamp it. I'm stamping with my MISTI as I wanted to be sure I got a solid impression. Once I'm finished stamping all of the stripes, I'm going to lift up the panel from the platform and rotate it, and then also shift it up a few squares so that the stripes that are on the stamp are now a little bit offset and will be stamped in between the ones that are already on the paper. Now I can go in with the remaining colors, so here I'm starting with orange, and that will stamp in between the red and the yellow. And I'll just continue that all the way down the panel until it's completely covered in stripes. This idea was inspired by a video created by Kelly Latavola for the Simon Says Stamp blog using this same background stamp, and I'll make sure to link that in the description box below. I'll also make sure to list out all of the ink colors that I used, just in case you want to create this same color scheme. And here's a look at the finished panel. The main takeaway from this technique is to look at your stamps that you have with solid areas and see if you can mask them off to ink up with different ink colors to create different backgrounds. The next tip I have for you is to try adding extra details to your stamped backgrounds, and for this one I'm using the gingham background stamp. Here I'm using my MISTI again, and I'm placing another piece of white cardstock inside the platform, and I'm going to ink up the gingham background using a green ink, and I'll double stamp that onto the panel. Now I can move on to adding some extra details to bring this gingham background to life. I went through my stash and found this thin stripe stamp from my Banner Alphabet add-on set, and I'm inking it up with some bright red ink, and I'm going to stamp that in between all of the squares of the gingham background going in both directions. This will help the gingham look more like a plaid, and the 2 colors together really make it a perfect background for a holiday card. This stripe stamp wasn't exactly long enough to go all the way across vertically, but I was able to easily line it up and make it work. You can also just use a ruler and a colored marker if that's all you have. Here's a peek at the panel used on a card project that will be coming to my YouTube channel soon. The next idea I'm sharing is a water lifting technique using the cloud background stamp and some Ranger Distress Oxide inks. To start off my panel, I'm using some white cardstock, and along the top I'm going to use Cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide ink and ink that from the top towards the center. Then I'm going to go in with peacock feathers and blend in from the bottom until the 2 colors meet in the middle. Then I'll just switch back and forth between my ink blending tools until I get a seamless blend. Here I have my MISTI all set up with my cloud background, and inside the platform I'm going to place my inked panel. Then using a water spritzer bottle, I'm going to spray that over the background stamp 3 to 4 times until I get a nice layer of water on the clouds. Then I will close that down onto the panel and let it sit there for about 30 seconds, and when you lift it up, you'll see that the water reacted with the Distress Oxide ink and created this water-lifted, ghost-like impression in the shape of the clouds. Later on, I added some more water droplets just to add even more texture, and here's a look at a card project I made over the summer using this same technique. The last idea I have for you is a watercolor embossed resist using the grid background stamp. Here I have a piece of watercolor paper that I'm treating with an anti-static powder tool, and now I'm going to use some Versamark ink to ink up my grid background and stamp that down onto the paper. I'm going to sprinkle some white embossing powder over top and then heat that until it's melted. To add some color to the background, I'm going to use an ink smushing technique. So here I have a piece of acetate, and I'm just smushing down an ink pad over top, spritzing it with a little bit of water, and then placing that acetate sheet down onto the background. And this helps you drag the color in a more concentrated area so that you can get better placement. And then you can see how that grid background starts to come to life as the embossing powder resists the ink that we put over top. I recommend starting with the 3 primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, and then adding in the secondary colors after you've dried the panel. You could also dry the panel between each color so that you don't get too much mixing and that there's a more layered look. But as you add more color, it just starts to come more to life, and this purple shade was my favorite color that I added. And here's a peek at the finished panel once it's all dried. I also used this same technique over the summer for a card project that was part of a blog hop, so I will show that here, and then I will also link the video I created for that one in the description box below. And that finishes today's video. I hope you enjoyed these 4 ideas for using your background stamps creatively and are inspired to take a look at your stash and see how you can use the background stamps you have to create different looks. As mentioned earlier in the video, there's a special sale going on in the Right at Home shop as part of our Countdown to Christmas 4-week sale event. From now until Monday, December 10th, 2018, you can get 20% off all background stamps, including the ones shown today, using code 20OFFBG. I will include all of the sale information in a link to my blog post in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, subscribe to this channel before you leave, and I hope you have a great day.